All right, welcome back. We continue live right here on Pittsburgh CW. The call brought to you by Ireland Contracting, and right here on the Borders and Borders hotline. It's 412-575-2600. A lot of people want to talk about what's going on, and the draft does continue. But those of you who are watching to find out with the Steelers, you got an early surprise. It was an early night. You got what you wanted for early before 10 o'clock, which is rarity. Normally it goes after that. Let's find out what people have to say. Bob in Clearfield is first up tonight. Hey, Bob, what's up?
Thank you, Bobby. So, I was just wondering what your concerns are, given the fact that Devin Bush is a rather undersized linebacker. And if you can remember, Ryan Shazier had troubles his first couple of years with injuries.
Right.
It has to be, especially considering the fact they gave up an awful price, I think, in order to get him. So,
why would you consider that an awful price? I thought it was rather cheap, considering where you moved into really, an elite part of the draft. Top 10 is always considered the best area of the draft. I mean, they gave up a second-round pick and a third-round pick next year. That's pretty much it.
So, but like I say, though, it scares me to see when I think, of an undersized linebacker like that. But we'll see. I just wonder what your thoughts were. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Bob. No, I think it's a good deal. I think this guy is going to be able to move in. He may not play immediately because it is difficult to do that, regardless of how good you are. But eventually he will. Mark Barron is a guy they brought in knowing what his talent level could be. Drafted originally by Tampa, went to L.A. He played a little out of position, but he's a talented guy, and maybe this opportunity here will ignite him here, and then you have a nice problem to have. A lot of guys who need to get on the field. Line 4, it's Bill and Nemacolin. Hey, Bill, how are you?
Good, Bob. How are you doing tonight?
I'm great. What do you think?
The draft looks good, what the Steelers are doing, and probably some of the stuff will work out when they draft. But going back to the Pirates, here we go again. All these injuries, and guess what? We have nobody to replace them. What a very thin bench. That's where it comes into spending money. Okay, I'll let you talk.
Yeah, I agree. I've been saying that along. It's one thing to have, what you think is your starter, but then you need guys on the bench. You need a better bench than they have to offer. Right now, I know the injuries have taken a toll, and that's part of this analysis after 23 games, but when they're hitting, and I had questions about their hitting all the way through anyway. I thought even healthy, that's a challenge group to come up with runs. And so you saw this week. What it does is put so much pressure on a pitching staff, and if it goes on a long term, it'll make it very difficult for those guys. I think it just really, attacks what they are capable of doing because they know they have no margin of error. Those guys have got to be perfect out there. And for the first, 20 games, they were. I mean, they were good starting outings. You saw even the other night. Trevor Williams had 7 strong innings, got no run support, lost the game. So yesterday it was Jordan Lyons. He did not have a good outing, first of 3. And Jamison Tyone today gave up 4 in the first 2 innings, and the game was over because there's no offense really. So they're out west starting tomorrow. We'll see how they do against the Dodgers, which is a loaded offensive team, so their pitching is going to have to be even better. But it still is early. 12 wins, 11 losses. We'll see how it goes. It's hard to do an analysis until you get all the way through May. When you start getting into June, I think you have a pretty good idea of what a team can be. Line 3, it's Kevin in Dormont. Kevin, welcome to the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
Hey, Bob, how you doing?
We're good, thank you.
Hey, I just want to say one thing. The Pirates are a joke. You know what? They were like last year. They had a big lead in the National League, and they fell apart. They can't score runs. It's the same old Pirates all the time. And I don't think they're not going to go nowhere.
We'll see. It's a very talented division. St. Louis is starting to flex its collective muscles. They got hitting all over the place, and their pitching, if it's what I think it could be, they have a closer in Jordan Hicks now who throws about 104 miles an hour pretty routinely, which is shocking. He's a young kid, but he can bring it. And, Milwaukee needs more pitching. They got a lot of hitting. Cubs lost today to the Dodgers, but they're a good team too. So it's going to be hard to compete unless they come up with guys who can give you more productive offense. Jung Ho Kang is struggling right now. He has power, but that's about it. He's not getting on base. He strikes out a lot. Francisco Cervelli is really struggling. Polanco's back, but you can tell it's taking him some time. What are you getting out of, Colin Moran has been very good with runners in scoring position, maybe the best bat. Josh Bell, to me, is the only bright spot right now when it comes to hitting, and they need him to be this bright spot. He has to continue and hit the ball well, but they need more than that, in my opinion. 412-575-2600. Let's go out to Luke in Bethel Park. Hey, Luke, how are you? Hello, Luke.
Yeah, Bob, two quick questions for you. If I understand the trade correctly, the Steelers still have their two third-round picks this year. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Do you see any possibility of them using those picks to move up into the second round?
Yeah, I do. I think the second round has a lot of good defensive backs if they still believe they need one. And to me, you can never have enough. Look how many guys they've drafted over the last several years, and how many have not been able to get the job done. And you have Joe Hayden, who's coming to the end of maybe his stay in Pittsburgh. His contract's due up, I think, at the end of this season. You have Steven Nelson, and I like that acquisition. I do, but you still need more people. Artie Burns, I don't know what to expect from him. Cam Sutton, I'm not sure what to expect from him. Brian Allen, who knows? There are a lot of question marks. So if I can get a good defensive back, I would move up to do it, absolutely.
Okay, Bob, one other question for you.
Sure.
Do you have any comments on the passing of John Havlicek?
Oh, I didn't even see that. When did that happen?
I just heard that a few minutes ago. It was reported that he passed away at age 79.
Oh, man, I did not see that. And one of the great players of all time. No, sad to hear that. I don't like anymore, man. You look around and you see more and more of these sort of stories coming at you and people that you followed when you're growing up. And it's a shame. I don't know if he was sick or what. I'll check more onto that as I get a chance. But I've been kind of inundated with Steelers stuff tonight. But thank you for the information. Appreciate that at 412-575-2600. Let's go out to line 3. And that would be Jim in South Hills. Hey, Jim, how are you?
Good, Bob. How about yourself?
I'm fine, thanks.
One thing about the Pirates, one thing about the Steelers. Actually, two things about the Pirates. 162 games is a long season.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it goes good, sometimes it goes bad. Too many people jump off the train early or get on
And
late.
they jump on too early too. When they're 12-6, people were talking about, like I said, I wait a little bit to find out what it is. And normally it takes a couple of months before you really have a grip
Bob,
on that
I agree
team.
with you completely. And, I think if there's one good thing that's happened the first 25 games is these kids are getting a chance to see what it's like to be in the big leagues. And, when they're going to play later in the summer, which they definitely will because there will be injuries, not as bad as this,
Right.
Those kids will at least have a little experience here.
Well, I hope they kind of ride the Cole Tucker train. I want to see him play a lot. I haven't seen anything that makes me think he can't play regularly there. And, they have an injury to Eric Gonzalez, obviously, and Kevin Newman, he's going to be available. So what do you do? They're
Well, I'll
both
tell you what I heard about
first-round
Tucker.
picks.
Tucker has not had enough at-bats in the minor leagues. He looks great, but, the way the coaches down there do things is they want them to have so many at-bats before they think they're ready. He looks pretty good at shortstop, and he obviously looks good like a hitter, but, he's still learning a little bit. I'd rather see him get a little more time down there. If he's the man and we have to have it, so be it. As far as the Steelers are concerned, my opinion is that the Steeler management, who you have to have a tremendous amount of respect for, what we've done over the last 50 years, is looking at Ben's next 2 to 4 years, probably closer to 2 or 3, when he's still really good, and they're making moves like they never move up. I think Palomalo was the last time they moved up. They moved up.
Well, Holmes, yeah, and both resulted in good players who had significant roles in championship teams. I like that because, yeah, you're right. It's I think maybe they should have done more of this earlier. Last year they knew that Shazier wasn't going to be around.
Right.
They were in a position to draft some other linebackers if they wanted to be active. They didn't do it. They thought they could patch it from the outside. By the way, thank you for the call. I do appreciate that. I think they're being proactive here. When I first heard this deal, I thought for sure Denver would want Mason Rudolph. And then I'd have to wonder about the Steelers because you have to, you're rolling the dice if you think Ben's going to play every year 16 games as he gets older, so you need some insurance. But, they need quarterback help in Denver. And Joe Flacco is there now, but they've gone through a myriad of quarterbacks. Mason Rudolph likely will not play here. In fact, we can go through the entire first contract of his and hypothetically not see him take one snap. He'll be Jimmy Garoppolo without 5 games of experience, and you wonder what that would be. Although there is starvation of quarterbacks, good ones around, and if Rudolph can do it, and I like the kid a lot, I think he's very good, but he needs an opportunity. We'll see where that may. Line 4, it's Jack in Forest Hills. Hey, Jack, how are you? Welcome to the Sports Call.
Hi, Bob. How are you doing tonight?
I'm fine, thank you.
Oh, man, I almost fell out of my chair when I saw the Steelers had traded up to number 10. I couldn't believe that. I knew who they were going to pick, Devin Bush. But the one analyst said that pound for pound, he thinks he's the best, athlete.
Right.
In
Best
the
player
draft.
in the draft. That was Louis Riddick, who I have a lot of respect for. I know Louis, and I know he's really into all. I mean, he'll be a good GM one day. I'm convinced of that.
I'm just surprised Denver even traded. I thought for sure they were going to take a quarterback. I never thought that they would trade. And you get a quarterback and let him play a year or two behind Flacco.
You know, maybe they're going to trade for Josh Rosen because now all of a sudden Arizona needs to get rid of him. They can't have two of those guys with those contracts.
That's true.
We'll see.
One thing about the Pirates, I'm not ready to give up on them yet on their hitting. I'm waiting until they get back Corey Dickerson, Marte, and Polanco.
Well, Polanco's back, but they still
horrible.
need other guys. They need consistency at a lot of positions, and Gung, to me, is just not getting it done. So that's a concern.
None of them are hitting except Josh. Still,
Right. All right,
Really,
man, thanks.
yeah.
Appreciate it. Got to go to a break. We have Kevin, Pete, and Nick all on the line. This is your place to sound off. We do it 7 nights a week. It's the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call Borders and Borders Hotline. Pittsburgh CW, back in a flash.